Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Marga Arenas Vargas, and it is my honor to be your host for the first breakout track of the Philippine Digital Convention 2020, entitled Dare to Transform, Powering the Next Workplace Transformation. Of course, brought to you by PLDT Enterprise, Smart, and ePLDT, and co-presented by Cisco, Samsung, and Palo Alto Networks. We're excited to have you join us as we continue to help you discover how you can pivot your enterprise towards success to ensure lasting and effective change as we enter the new future of work. Truly, this year's Philippine Digital Convention is set to be like no other, as this is the first all-virtual iteration of the convention. But as we like to say at PLDT, pivot or perish. And this virtual convention is but a manifestation of how we've transformed in light of the current business landscape. Likewise, we hope that it serves as a venue for you to find ways for your organization to continuously evolve. But before we get to that, we would once again like to thank our official event partners. With the current landscape of work propelling businesses to become more agile and digital, and the emerging fusion of physical virtual workspaces, businesses are called to empower both in-office and remote working environments. While delivering seamless, consistent, and rich collaboration experiences, this session aims to equip delegates with knowledge on the best strategies and available solutions as they go about their workplace transformation journey in the face of the new realities. But just because we're virtual doesn't mean that this year's session is going to be any less interactive or engaging. We would love to hear from you, so do share your thoughts and insights by keying them in the chat box or by posting them in your respective social media accounts, of course with the official event hashtag, hashtag Brace for Impact, and hashtag PHDigicon 2020. Also, get a chance to win exciting raffle prizes just by answering our feedback form, which will be made available after this session, so stay tuned for that. Get ready to experience impact as we start off this session by taking a look at the latest trends and developments as we fully immerse in a digitized working environment. Here to tell us more about this is the Vice President and Head of PLDT Fixed Core Business Solutions, the Fixed Line Product Management, and the marketing arm of PLDT Enterprise, catering to the enterprise market segment, Mr. Gary Ignacio.
For the most part of 2020, working has not meant sitting on your desk inside company premises in your crisp office get-up. As a result of COVID-19, work life has become how it is today, and the workplace is set to change forever. We won't step back in time, simply returning to our former offices. Instead, we will be moving forward to a new place. It might look similar in many ways, but it's going to be modified in strategic ways, incorporating new practices, new protocols, and new technologies. In these times, when stress and anxiety are high, it's tempting to reminisce and get nostalgic on the state of the world about 8 to 10 months ago, a place where daily life closely resembled the past decades of living. Perhaps it's a bit to show control, or simply to take comfort as we revert to a time when change was not so universally imposed upon us. For decision makers and business owners, such a mindset could be tantamount to treading treacherous waters or falling into a dangerous pit. MIT Sloan calls it the normalcy bias, the belief that things will continue to go as they have gone in the past. As 2020 slides into and probably infects 2021, as CNN puts it, we all have to try to take heart one discomforting fact. Things are most likely never going back to normal. The road to recovery will probably take a relatively long time, and the best and perhaps only choice we all have to survive and thrive is to adapt, reinvent, and move forward. Some global experts say that evolution has to occur in a hurry, as fast as how the past 5 months upended the lives of people and businesses globally. As good businessmen and leaders, the right attitude is to always face the new realities, grab them by the horn, and navigate your business smartly to hurdle the storm and adapt to the imposed changes. Clearly, the first important step is to accept that the workplace will be forever changed. Most, if not all of us, got immersed in work from home over the past few months. The valuable learnings from this experience will come in useful and will definitely part of the future end state. A lot of adjustments have to be made, and they will be strategic modifications, challenging traditional conventions. As we rethink current practices, as we enforce new protocols, and as we leverage on new technologies such as collaboration tools and workplace automation. Lastly, the new reality dictates that we open our eyes to the concept of hybrid. In a post-COVID world, the traditional office environment will most likely get obsolete. In its place will rise the hybrid workplace, where employees can opt to work anywhere they feel they can be most effective and productive, whether that's the office, a client site, a co-working location, or their very own home. The hybrid workplace embraces full workforce flexibility, and we expect that it will become the norm even after we're all safely back to return to our places of work. As the new reality set in and take more form and shape, we will be able to see and test new solutions that will allow us to reimagine the workspaces of the future. It will be very interesting times where we will find and discover new ways of working. In retrospect, workplace transformation in the age of COVID was a story that started with an urgent call to respond to the crisis, as many of us can attest to. We got forced to immediately adapt because there wasn't much choice with the imposition of the lockdown and our very own consciousness over our own personal health and well-being. To businesses, that meant enabling work from home quickly without the necessary standards or consistency to allow them to sustain work productivity and overall business continuity. Where do we see this heading? Clearly, there's going to be a transitionary return to work phase leading to that future end state. This will entail a lot of redesigning over physical office premises and a lot of retooling among users and employees as we enhance our ability to cope to what the environment has to offer. The workplace will be totally reimagined to conform with the new rules in terms of space standards and guidelines. We'll see more collaboration hubs in offices, replacing the vast cubicle farms of old, as companies enforce social distancing and manage user densities. There's going to be more transition towards smart offices, towards more contactless experiences, towards everything more digital. Truly, the situation has compelled us, but we have no doubt you will also see reinvention at its very finest in the coming months as we all get the grip on the emerging hybrid reality, where work experiences are consistent inside and outside office borders, and when digital will become the default. It's going to be an exciting transformation journey, and in this session, we will try to map it out according to the three major phases that we see, alongside our expert partners who are likewise constantly monitoring the ongoing evolution. Work from anywhere will continue to gain traction and will continue to evolve. And later on, we will see a safe return to work, which will all lead us towards the definitive end state, which is going to be governed by hybrid. Together with our panel of expert partners, PLDT Enterprise is fully behind you to ensure that you achieve your objectives wherever you are in this exciting journey.
Thank you for that, Gary. Adjusting to new modes of operation myself, I'm eager to discover what lies ahead for the future of work. With that, let's take a closer look at what an emerging borderless workspace looks like.
Telecommute, remote working, or work from home. Whichever you may call it, many would agree that the concept of the borderless workspace has taken businesses by storm. Because of COVID 19, companies were pushed to adopt to new ways of operating. Decision makers shifted to virtual meetings to ensure collaboration and alignment, while most employees begin a transition to a home office setup, get online, and aim to remain business as usual. With employee health and safety in mind, priorities have shifted to growth and expansion, to how a business can navigate these uncharted waters and ultimately survive. By this time, most companies would have had their own work from home plan or policy in place. But with more than 7 months in lockdown, more and more companies are warming up to this practice. That said, as you look to your company's own setup, are your current work from home policies working for you or all your employees? Are your teams equipped with the right technologies that will enable them to do their work effectively and stay productive? Here are some insights from an 18-year veteran in the video conferencing industry, Cisco ASEAN Regional Sales Manager for Collaboration, Mr. Paul Peterson.
Thank you, Mark, and good afternoon, everyone. So, as you know, we've all been through this terrible pandemic since March, and basically pivot everyone in the company from working close to each other at work to basically move back to meet from home. Everything shifting over to a virtual platform and a way of communicating from the sofa or from the TV or the kitchen or whatever space you have at your home. And we obviously seen a massive influx of usage of WebEx and also other platforms around the world, where we have now increased and have over 500 million daily users in WebEx. So an enormous increase in usage. At the same time, we obviously want to drive further experiences and a better experience to be able to help workers working from your home. As we move in, we also have seen that change of simple things like moving over to your colleague and have a chat over the desk, or meeting somebody in the corridor, while now sitting home and pinging somebody over a virtual platform and catching up over video. The same thing if you have a team member, excuse me, that have a birthday or celebrating something, you're now doing it all virtual in a different type of shape and form of platforms. And meetings where you, before the COVID situation, would have been meeting in a small huddle space and brainstormed and worked out sort of the solution for your company and your team, you're now doing it over a hybrid situation where you have people coming in from a virtual platform, but still important that you can use and do the same things that you did at the office. And events like this. Last year we would be meeting in a hotel in Manila, but now we're doing this in a virtual environment. So basically everything has obviously changed. But it's not all negative. We also see an enormous productivity boost within organizations. You actually spend less time doing non-work stuff at work, if you will. And people are actually able to work more and more efficiently. At the same time, you obviously don't spend as much time as commuting to and from work. So we believe that this is going to change how companies actually apply policies and technologies for a foreseeable future. And many organizations around the world have actually then already announced that they will permanently be able to allow their workers working from home or working from anywhere by having more flexibility on both tools and policies, etc. And moving in to a study that was conducted in Singapore last year, we saw that most people actually prefer to have a flexibility, not just working from home, but have a flexibility to work from home when it's needed. So get the benefit of no commute time, be able to spend more time with the family and be more productivity and actually have that flexibility. But very few want to work from home all the time. So we will see a mix of that in the future. So when we're building out of that and thinking about today's environment where basically 100% of us working from home, we're going to move back to more of a hybrid version of working, where you're always going to have people working from home, working from office, or working basically on the go somewhere else. So this is where we trying to build a platform to be able to actually then make seamless collaboration available across the platform from everywhere where you are, and really to empower the workers that is in your organizations. So we have done a number of improvements of WebEx, and we have fast tracks a lot of these capabilities due to COVID and make sure that we empower the home user. And basically, we want to make the experience 10 times better, whatever we put into the platform and the capabilities that we have. So if some of the pieces that you have seen in WebEx, our own platform, is really to improve and turbocharge the join experience. So just by simply click one button, be able to join the meeting and simply, but this without sort of compromising security and authentication, etc. in the platform. We also have started bringing in a number of different capability to help your people working from home by, for example, be able to change the background to create more privacy and not just have everyone looking into your home whenever you work. And then we have added things like breakout rooms and be able to co-host meetings between the participants in a very flexible way, and simplify the control so you have a more intuitive ways of being able to actually then join the meeting and control the meeting during the meeting. And also, as you might know, the world now has shifted to be really a video first environment, which means that when you join a WebEx today, you come straight into a great grid view, which means that you instantly get a good introduction to all the people in the call. And then some other amazing improvements that we have done. You probably all been experienced when somebody potentially bring up their lunchbox and then started to unpack the lunch, which could be extremely disturbing. But essentially what we have done here is that we have actually, by AI, been able to take away and filter away everything that is not voice, and at the same time amplify the human voice in the meeting. So to basically take away disturbance in the call. So this could happen basically if somebody comes with a vacuum cleaner or dog barking, you dropping something on the table. So this is an amazing technology that actually came in through an acquisition we did back in, we closed the acquisition in 1st of October, so just a while ago. And then by end of October already, we have implemented that in the platform, not only in the WebEx as a platform, but also in the devices, the video device, some of the video endpoints in the devices. And then in addition, this has been with us for a while, but it's really to help you and give you a personal assistant during the meeting that is integrated to the platform that can help you with translation, transcripts, take actions, etc. during the call. And we now moving the different WebEx apps into one single application to simplify the user experience, where we integrate calling, meeting, and messaging into the same platform. And that allows you as a customer to us to pick and choose whatever workload that works best for you. If you want to have a deployment or a solution with one single app that you do all the workloads, that's fine. But if you're using, for example, another platform for messaging, you can use the meeting and the calling capability from WebEx. And then obviously you can pick and choose the workload as you want. We also launched a new device called the Desk Pro, which is really the instant office and the unit I use today, where you can actually drop in a 27-inch screen, 4K screen with a very nice camera and a capability to do optimal view when you join in the meeting. So this allows you to take away a little bit of the fatigue sitting on a video meeting on your laptop all the day and save sort of the power and the load on the laptop while conducting good quality meetings and getting a better experience for your employee. And then finally, what I would like to touch on is that we are bringing everything of this together in one pane of glass, which is Control Hub. So you can easily then manage and understand the experience for both your office, but also your home, people that working from home. And you can actually in real time go into a meeting and see exactly how each user or participants experience is performing. So for example, if one user have a network glitch or moved from one mobile cellular network to home network, you can identify that and understand why that particular user got, for example, a degraded experience. And then you can take corrective actions over that. Okay, so that was all that I had today, and I will see you later in the panel this afternoon.
Thank you, Paul. As companies look into the long-term effectiveness and productivity of remote working, the IT, HR, and even the company's appointed transformational committee should be on the lookout on how a company can assimilate and take advantage of these technologies. These digital tools are but one part of the borderless workspace. The foundational element is how the business and employees stay connected. Digital tools, connectivity. With these technologies at the helm of enabling this workforce transformation, and with the growing demands of businesses and employees to stay connected, we at PLDT Enterprise, with the vision of making a positive impact to every single business, has recently launched Beyond Fiber. Beyond Fiber is an all-in-one digital solution that will enable a business of any size with curated digital solutions and Wi-Fi fit for enterprise, all anchored on business-grade fiber. Now in the borderless workspace, users shift from a powerful, dedicated connection provided in the office to a high-speed shared internet network for their work-from-home setup. The usual concerns are, will our connection be reliable enough? Will peak usage hours affect our ability to work? And because of this is a shared network, will we get enough bandwidth to carry out our daily online tasks? This is where business-grade fiber comes in. We are redefining the standard for business internet by providing a bandwidth of up to 50 Mbps with an enhanced service promise. That is, to give a minimum of 90% of the subscribed bandwidth at 90% reliability. That's 3 times the minimum bandwidth guarantee offered today. So say goodbye to the old burst speeds, because with Beyond Fiber, you get to maximize the bandwidth that you need whenever you need it. Whether going through all of your emails, sending and receiving all of those bulk attachments, transferring or backing up large files to the cloud, collaborating with team members online, making video calls, or participating in online conferences. All of these, regardless if you're on the day, mid, or night shift. With many institutions wanting to have the flexibility to be on both a traditional and borderless workspace, the end users are typically provided with a Wi-Fi enabled device, whether that's a laptop, phone, tablet, or a combination of the 3. Now, anticipating the need for added visibility, remote management, and security, we made sure that we have a Wi-Fi that is fit for the enterprise. That's why we're including a premium Cisco Meraki Wi-Fi device as a standard inclusion to every Beyond Fiber package. In a work-from-home perspective, this enables companies to provide a more secure and productive experience by enforcing corporate policies depending on how the business wants their workforce to use their Wi-Fi. For example, prioritize work-related traffic or whitelisting specific devices, block unproductive apps or non-work related devices, and for those that want to give Wi-Fi as an employee benefit, you can enable Wi-Fi for personal use or schedule to enable this only after their shift has ended. And for team leads, supervisors, or IT admins that want to understand how their connections are used, monthly usage reports can be provided. And all because this is cloud managed, it reduces the need for physical or on-site visits, which means deploying these enterprise level configurations are easier and more scalable. Plus, we can manage these configurations for you so that your IT team can rest easy. Lastly, Beyond Fiber has made available a selection of curated digital solutions specifically for remote work. From productivity and collaboration tools, endpoint device security, to solutions that can enable remote VPN connections. All of these make up the relevant tools to transform from the current ad hoc home office to the new enterprise remote office, one that has superior connectivity, robust and secure Wi-Fi, with curated digital tools allowing your employees to take advantage of the new borderless workspace.
Thank you for that. Truly, we are at the forefront of innovation, a borderless workspace in the city of the future. Although we continue to adapt more remote modes of operating, this does not mean that we are set to bid our in-office and on-campus setups goodbye. Eventually, once safety permits, we'll be able to return to the physical workspace and merge telecommute and face-to-face work. Here to talk about how we can pivot our enterprises to adapt to the current situation, while likewise laying the groundwork to return to the office or to school, please welcome our speakers, Benjamin Roland, Product Sales Specialist for Collaboration at Cisco Philippines, and Richard Echon, Category Head of Enterprise Communications and Collaboration at PLDT Enterprise.
Businesses today are challenged more than ever. But despite the challenges, one imperative remains: business must continue. As we've seen in the first segment, the only way to ensure business continuity, productivity, and continued customer service is to enable a borderless working environment where people can be connected, engaged, and secured wherever, whenever. But sooner or later, the workforce needs to get back to the office. So how do you do it? How do you transition from a borderless workspace to a safe return to work environment?
This is Tom, and today Tom is going back to the office, a place he has always had his minor concerns about. Because Tom has always believed in cleanliness. He cleans his workspace with fastidious care. So on the first day back, he had to be one of the first ones in the office to check it out. After all, he'd been right. Some changes needed to be made around his office. Of course, Tom knew there would be some new protocols. But what Tom doesn't know is that since he's been out, his office has been upgraded. They've added a suite of products from Cisco WebEx to help him and his coworkers feel good about coming back. This Desk Pro comes equipped with WebEx Assistant for a touchless meeting start.
Okay, WebEx, start my meeting. Okay, WebEx, end my meeting.
Which means Tom doesn't have to touch cables, screens, or anything else to have a meeting. Cisco devices like WebEx Board 55 with room monitoring, can share social distancing guidelines for shared spaces and keep track of how many people are using them. So if 3 people try to use this meeting room for 2, distancing guidelines can be enforced. This Cisco Touch 10 can even use timers to remind you when it's time to clean it and the room it's in, so Tom and everyone else can be sure it's safe for work. And even if Tom decides to work from home sometimes, the Control Hub makes it easy for IT teams to troubleshoot, pinpoint, and solve issues anywhere, in the office or at home. WebEx has the solutions you need to manage your hybrid workforce and keep your employees feeling safe. Even Tom's, everywhere.
So here to talk about transitioning back to the office and having a safe return to work setup, we have the product solution specialist for collaboration of Cisco Philippines, Mr. Benjamin Bong Roland.
So thank you, Richard, for that kind introduction. So as you've heard from Paul earlier, organizations were very quick to adapt when we heard the news about having to work from home, and so technology. We were very quick to take on technology to be able to transition from the office to the workplace. We are now facing another transition that's going to happen. Eventually, offices will have to reopen, but there are a lot of concerns when we start to look at how do we reopen the office safely. And so Cisco conducted a survey, a global workforce survey, and what we found out was that 98% of all employees that we've surveyed had serious concerns about healthcare and health and well-being. Mainly because if we had to start to come back to the office is a place, right, where we meet a lot of our coworkers, or we meet a lot of our customers and our suppliers and our vendors. And this is a place where social distancing becomes a challenge. And so some of the key issues we've had there with reopening the office centered around touching a lot of common devices, public devices that we see, meeting room controls, remote controls, even the doorways, and so on. Another thing that we found an issue with, or employees have found an issue with, is knowing when the rooms have been cleaned. And lastly, and a very important point as well, is how do you enforce social distancing when we start to reopen the offices? As we start to reopen, or as we start to rethink opening the office, Cisco and PLDT, with our partnership with PLDT, have started to also help you plan out how does technology help us transition. So just as we've used technology to transition from the workplace to the homes, technology also serves as a blueprint for us to transition back into a safe reopening of the offices. And that journey starts with our very first interaction with the office. Usually that happens when we see the first person that we meet when the offices reopen, and that usually is the lobby ambassador or the receptionist. This is an extra person that we have to meet that we're not really intending to meet in the first place, right? An extra interaction that also gives us an extra piece of exposure. So what we've done here was that we wanted to reduce that risk, the risk of the visitor or the employee in meeting some extra person, as well as reducing the risk of the lobby ambassador of meeting everyone who's actually coming in. And so, as you see here, this on screen right now, this is actually the Cisco Singapore office as it is today. So when you enter, what actually greets you now is a desk pro. And here you're going to see a QR code where you can actually do your health declaration. And after doing your health declaration, if you need to speak to the lobby ambassador, you just have to initiate the call. The lobby ambassador is actually working safely from her home, and then she can accommodate you and print your visitor's pass. Another key change that we've seen when we actually go back to the office is that there are a lot of different policies and procedures. There are a lot of different reminders of how to use the office space. And so digital signage becomes a very important solution that you have to put in your office so that people are aware of what are the new changes in the office space. And so with our partners App Space, we've actually been able to repurpose all of the screens that you have in your office, as well as all of the meeting endpoints from Cisco, using the WebEx platform and app space so that you can now position or promote all of the different signages that you need to have. So all of your reminders of social distancing, all of your reminders of use of the office space can actually be promoted and published on a digital signage. Similarly, we have a partner in Involvio who actually does the same thing in an academe or in an education sector space. And they've put it one step further by allowing you now to also book a room or book your class, right? So if you were a student, you wanted to attend a class, you now have the option of attending in person or attending virtually, and you can actually book your seat via the Involvio app. With our partnership or with our solutions in Meraki Wi-Fi as well as in DNA Spaces, we can take digital signage one step further. With this, we can actually do indoor ways, right, or indoor wayfinding, as well as find location hotspots where people congregate. And if people are congregated in mass, you may want to avoid those areas so that you don't violate social distancing as well. When you finally get to your meeting room, the next thing we wanted to address here was that how do you actually book a meeting room without touching any device? So normally, right, you have a remote control in the meeting room or a touch panel. And this is a public space, and meeting rooms are usually where people congregate and people tend to switch, right? There are transitions of people, droves of people who come in and out of meeting rooms, and you may or may not want to touch the devices that are there. And so what we've done here is we've actually allowed WebEx Assistant to allow you to book a meeting room with your voice. So entering the meeting room, you can actually just say, okay, WebEx, reserve this room for me for 30 minutes. And then instantly it will populate all of the calendars that are involved so that everyone will know that you've already booked this meeting room and that you can actually use it. You can do the same with if it's already scheduled. So if you've already scheduled that meeting room, once you enter the meeting room with my WebEx app on my phone or on my laptop or on my tablet, it already recognizes who I am. And so I don't actually have to say, start my meeting or I don't have to say, okay, WebEx, start a meeting. It already knows who I am and it will ask me if I want my meeting to be started. And so I can just say yes. And so that way, the room will already initiate my WebEx meeting. So WebEx Assistant also works with personal endpoints, like the Desk Pro that you see here. So even if I don't have a scheduled meeting, I can just approach the Desk Pro and say, okay, WebEx, please call Paul. And WebEx will instantly know that it's Paul Pedersen that I'm trying to call because Paul Pedersen is the Paul in Cisco out of the thousands of Pauls in Cisco that I normally interact with. The other thing we've done with WebEx, and we've talked about the WebEx app, is that the WebEx app allows you to pair with the devices, the video endpoints in the room. And so if I don't want to use my voice, or if I've already started the meeting on my cell phone or on my laptop or on my tablet, or if the schedule, right, or if the invite is on my tablet and I just say I have to join the meeting there, it instantly recognizes a device in range. And so you can actually choose to start the meeting from the device and it will use the video and the audio of the device and start that meeting from there. So I don't even have to touch the device. I can just use my own personal devices to start a meeting. When the meeting starts, this is also where the magic begins because WebEx, our video endpoints have a lot of sensors that we've put in place. It used to be that we'd use this for people counting and facial recognition so that we could nameplate people who are in the meeting. But we've added more features to these sensors so that we can actually measure air quality, temperature, humidity, and with these we can control the aircon in the room with integrations with your room systems. The last thing we've done here as well, and equally important, is that we've used the same technology to enforce social distancing. So if, for example, we have a meeting room which actually seats 4 or 6, but because of COVID, this meeting room can only seat 2. The moment the third person steps in, it will now warn the people in the room that you've already exceeded the capacity. And hence, the third person either has to join remotely or find another meeting space and join from there. Lastly, we've also incorporated information on the endpoint for you to know when was the room last cleaned. So this way, you'll be able to know, right, and be able to feel safe that you know that this room has been cleaned regularly. So even if people have gone in and out of the meeting room and there are several meetings that have happened in place, you would know if this meeting room has been disinfected, if this meeting room has been used, and so on. So as we've shown you earlier on how Cisco has helped you move from your office to the workspace, to your homes, and help you navigate that transition to work from home, we've also shown you how Cisco and PLDT can help you now move back into your offices in a safe and productive way. So if you have any needs, and if you're already planning your return to the office, please reach out to Cisco and PLDT, and we're here to help you. With that, I'd like to turn you back to Richard for the next speaker.
Thank you, Bong. There's another segment that has been greatly affected by this pandemic, the academe. And although our students are studying from home, they too will have to go back to campus soon.
Meet Safe Reopen from Involvio, a comprehensive mobile safety solution that helps you welcome students back to campus. With Safe Reopen, every member of your community gets a mobile health pass after completing a daily wellness check. With a health pass, students can book and reserve almost anything on campus within the capacity limits you set, from seats in class to treadmills in the gym. Safe Reopen incorporates video too, so those who can't join classes, activities, or meetings in person can still participate remotely. If there is a positive case of COVID-19, Safe Reopen connects with campus Wi-Fi and your SIS to identify those who may have been exposed and can send private notifications. And with powerful admin analytics, you can monitor risks, trends, and density across campus in real time. Welcome your students back safely with Safe Reopen from Involvio.
So whether it's the employee going back to the office or the student going back to campus, from a borderless workspace to the safe return to work, there are technology solutions available that will ensure everyone is safe, secured, and connected.
Thank you for that, Benjamin and Richard. I'm sure I speak on behalf of all our delegates here today when I say that I cannot wait to see our safe return to physical workspace. And finally, here to discuss the new work paradigm, let's hear from Steve Viles, Director of Strategy and Operations for Collaboration Sales APJC at Cisco, David Lichu, CEO of Lichu Property Consultants Inc., Ian Chong, a Regional Director and Head of Enterprise IT and Mobile for Samsung Electronics, Oscar Visaya, Country Manager of Palo Alto Networks, and Orvin Reyes, Category Head of Transformative Enterprise Networking Solutions at PLDT Enterprise.
Building the workplace of the future is certainly a daunting task for any organization. To talk more about how we might embrace hybrid workplaces and its impact to your business strategy, it is my pleasure to introduce Steve Viles, Cisco's Director of Strategy and Operations for Collaboration in APJC.
Hey everyone, it's great to be here. My name's Steve Viles. I'm a Director of Strategy and Operations for Cisco in Asia Pacific around collaboration. I'm really excited to be here to talk about the future of work, which we believe is a hybrid workplace. So let's get to it. So far this morning, we've heard from Bong and we've heard from Paul about the changing dynamic of what we're having in the workplace. And we talked a lot about how we're all working at the moment, most of it is at home in the Philippines. I'm normally based in Singapore. I'm actually in hotel quarantine at the moment in Australia. So this is where I have to work from. But that is not going to be the reality going forward. As we look to the next stage, we kind of talked about this a few times today, tomorrow is going to look different. And it's going to look different based on what you do as an industry, what you do for your organization, and what the overall trend will be around your office situation. We don't know. You know better than we do about how that mix is going to look. But as we kind of go forward, we know there is going to be some key changes. We've recently done some surveys where we've seen some key things happening around the trends in the hybrid workplace. One thing has been pretty clear is that only 9% of people worldwide say they are going to fully return to the office. So what we used to do in January this year will probably never be the same again for most people. 98% of people have kind of realised now that whatever happens going forward, even if we go back to the office, every meeting is going to have at least one or two people at home. 96 people saying, look, I want intelligent technology in my office to help me work better because I've been working at home and things are going great. I need to get that ease as I go into the office. And 53% of companies are saying, look, we're going to change our office footprint. How we set up before this year and what we're going to look like later is going to change. And they're things that I'm going to talk about. In general, at Cisco, we believe that the future is a hybrid workplace. And by that we mean we are going to have a situation where people are working at home. They are going to work into the office at a certain amount. Now, we don't know what that percentage is for your organisation, but you're going to go to the office and you're also going to be on the move, talking to customers, etc. What's really interesting is you need to be able to transition between all those things very, very seamlessly. So if I'm at home using my laptop, using voice over IP to do this, when I walk into the office, I don't want to go in a meeting room and have meetings all sitting around my laptop again. That makes no sense. I want to have an office I can walk into, as Bong described earlier, where it will intelligently know I've entered a room, and using the application I've used at home, I click a button and I'm able to connect with the best device possible to me in that organisation. And if I want to contact someone, I don't need to know if they're at home or in the office. I just hit one button and it finds them. And that's what we do best at Cisco, this move across a hybrid way of working. So when you do that, some key things will happen. So from the point of view, you've got the home office and you've got the office itself. The home is the new collaboration hub. So you've all been working at home for some time now, and one thing we've learned through this whole pandemic is you can pretty much get a lot of stuff done. Is it ideal? Are we doing everything? Probably not. There's benefits to what the office environment will be. But what we've done, we've established that you can work from anywhere. So therefore, what is the office for? The office isn't a place you go to work. The office is the place you go to collaborate and to work with people and to ideate and build better teaming and all those things. So, but both those things have to work seamlessly together to make this actually work and make it all possible. So we talked about support from remote employees, and Paul talked about all the technology enhancements and everything we're doing from that point of view. Bong talked about the safe return to work and all the technology we have that's able to make sure you have a safe environment. Lastly, we need to tie all that together and we deliver an intelligent workplace experience. Just like I talked about, it has to be seamless. I don't need to think where I am and how it's going to work. What I use at home and what I use in the office is the same. But when I get to the office, I get the benefit of being able to automatically connect to a video system. A video system knows I entered the room. When I hit a green button, I can launch a call and bring in people from home. People at home are just as much a part of the meeting as people in the office. They're the key things we need to do. And Bong talked about a lot of the things we actually do from this intelligent office point of view. And they really are some key things around the proximity in what we're doing in terms of building an intelligent workplace. Thank you. In terms of that, so we've got all these different elements in terms of the noise reduction Paul talked about, but basically the office becomes a place that's easy to do. The technology is there and it is there to adapt to how you want to work. If you want to launch a call from your mobile phone, you can. If you want to launch a call from your laptop, you can. You get to use your things that you want to do. And the reason we're able to do this at Cisco is that what we're talking about WebEx is one intelligent platform. It's an intelligent platform that sits in the cloud that you can consume as much as you want of. If you want to do your messaging with someone else, that's okay. If you want to do your calling from an on-prem PABX, that's okay. But all the WebEx workloads, be they calling, meetings, messaging, video conferencing, contact center, whiteboarding, sit in the cloud. And we have a unified app which allows you to consume whatever you want. So you might just want to turn on calling and meetings. a single app that runs on your mobile phone, your laptop, and integrates with every bit of hardware around you in the office. And all that is done controlled by something called Control Hub, which is a single pane of glass which allows you to look at all of the transactions that are happening from a collaboration point of view in your organization. So if someone's working at home and there's something wrong with the call, we can actually go in and diagnose that on the fly. All of those offices of people working at home have exactly the same visibility as someone working in the office. And that's what we do. So it's a complete platform that you can consume whatever you want to build the experiences you want to do. So with that, I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure talking to you this morning. And if you need to know more, please contact your Cisco representative through PLDTT. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Let's further bring these perspectives close to home, shall we? To talk about key insights on the Philippine commercial real estate landscape amidst crisis and beyond, I'd like to introduce none other than Mr. David Lee Chu, CEO and founder of Lee Chu Property Consultants and the leading commercial real estate broker in the Philippines.
So thank you very much, PLDT, for inviting me to share our thoughts about what's going on in this market, given COVID and beyond. So the government's been giving a strong push towards expanding into the provinces and to encourage companies and wealth to go beyond Metro Manila. And I think COVID has just re-emphasized that need. Many companies right now are thinking of decentralizing, and it's come at a time when technology is advancing very, very quickly to allow us to do that and still be productive. So what many people don't know is that for the last 20 years, we have built close to 120 townships outside of Metro Manila, which is in addition to the 60 townships that are already in Metro Manila. And together with those townships are new roads, new trains, new infrastructure, new bridges, and most importantly, new levels of connectivity. I'm right here, right now, in Punta Fuego, in Nasugbu, Batangas, about 100 kilometers away from Makati. And in 2 days, PLDT connected me to fiber optic connectivity, which allowed us to do what I've been doing here, which is 4 days of work days a week. And it's been phenomenal. And more of that is happening all over the Philippines. It's not just here in Batangas, it's not just there in Clark, but all over the Philippines. I can tell you what the two big things that clients are worried about and thinking about. Number one, how to cut costs. And number two, how to do that without sacrificing productivity, without sacrificing data security. And I think it's two sides. First is that the tech starts with the bandwidth and starts with the systems that are integrated into computers, into the processing systems of many companies. Companies have to make that investment. And second, many companies are talking about a hub and spoke model where you have a main base, let's say in Makati or BGC, and then you've got 5 to 10 satellite offices that are catering to the population of their employees and where they live. So that the main office, 80% of the population will go to the office 3 times a day, 3 times a week, and the other half of the office will go to the satellite office 2 times a week. And they alternate between the home, the hub office, and the satellite office. And another thing that they're doing is they're trying, more and more companies are adopting to hot desking so that they save 20% of the real estate, taking it away from the main office into a satellite office. And then they take another 15%, as much as 15% off in savings because they're doing hot desking. And all of this will translate to cost savings, better security, hopefully better productivity because employees are living more balanced. Now, today, as you know, we are swimming in an ocean of bad news. But I want to remind everybody of what this government has done, more so than any other administration. And that is the amazing fiscal management that this government has been able to do for this country to allow this country today to borrow at record low interest rates, at record long-term interest rates. And that is going to translate to a significant amount of liquidity into the system, coupled with the amount of infrastructure that's going to be completed in the next 12 months. There are 12 projects that will be completed in the next 12 months, and that is going to make life for the average Filipino extremely better than what it is today. And I think the biggest injection of infrastructure will lead to the biggest injection of productivity for the average Filipino, because traffic will be cut by half. And all that, it just means that we will be allowed to have a much diverse geographical footprint of economic activity that should lead to a much faster recovery out of this COVID crisis. You can double check the facts that we've shared with you today. These things are pretty much available across across the internet that you can access and validate. And another thing that we think is going to happen in the next 12 months is the dramatic expansion of the BPO sector, because right now the whole global economy is entering recession, and as more companies go into recession, more jobs will be created in the Philippines driven by the BPO sector. And we see that across so many clients. We service 9 of the 11 largest tenants in the Philippines, and more than half of these companies are expanding. A couple of them have given up a very, very small amount of their space back to their landlords, but most of them are going to be expanding before the year ends. And in addition to that, we're seeing more and more brands come in here and open 10,000 jobs in the pipeline in the next 2 to 3 years. And they're taking significant amounts of real estate and renewing the existing leases that they have for 5 to 7 years from today at the height of the global COVID crisis. And so I'll close by saying there is a lot of bad news, but there are many things to remember that are very strong positive fundamentals about this country that will lead us to a very strong recovery in the next 12 months. And with that, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, David. Now, rethinking how we might interact with our devices as we adopt to new ways of working brings some exciting developments in the mobile and digital arena. Here to talk about workplace evolution is Ian Chong, Samsung's Regional Director for Mobile B2B in Southeast Asia and Oceania.
Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be with you today at the PLDT Philippine Digital Convention 2020. Samsung has been a trusted partner to PLDT Smart, and it is great to be part of such a significant event. I'm Ian Chong. I lead the Samsung Mobile B2B business in Southeast Asia and Oceania, and I'm coming to you today from Singapore. I was hoping to meet you in the Philippines, but obviously this did not happen. COVID-19 is clearly the very definition of a black swan event. Highly improbable, but it has happened. Just a few months ago, who could have imagined that we, along with the whole world, would be meeting online like this instead? This crisis changes everything about how we are doing business today. Whether you are running a small business in Metro Manila or the largest of conglomerates, BPOs, with operations and employees all around the world, this crisis has upended everyone's planning and forced us to rethink how we operate. The new reality is that change is all around us, and the pace of change is fast and unrelenting. At Samsung, we look at all the uncertainty and disruption of COVID-19, and we think about the transformative and changing role and the significance of mobile technology, even as the playing field underneath us continues to shift. Specifically, IT solutions that can help you cope and manage the changes we are all facing. Solutions that empower your business to embrace change and gain an advantage as we turn the corner and start moving forward again. towards a new normal. What we can say with certainty is that fortune favors the fast and the decisive, those who dare to innovate, where there's a need to be proactive and progressive. Given that during this time, many factors are unpredictable, but many aspects are under our control. Fast ideation, co-creation, contribution. And today, I want to share some of our projects we are working on right now that's helping organizations turn crisis into opportunity. In the US, one of the hardest hit sectors is manufacturing. Factories stay shut as scores of citizens are detected to have the virus. While many manufacturing companies are facing huge losses by the day, while shop floors remain idle, the Ford Motor Company in US turned to Samsung to co-create and ideate new ways of working in order to overcome the crisis. Using commercially off-the-shelf wearable devices such as Samsung Watch and the magic of Bluetooth, Samsung was able to quickly test and roll out a new social distancing solution with Ford. The core function is to give the wearer a little buzz on the wrist if you get too close to one of your colleagues. It's also helping workers at Ford get back to work while at the same time staying safe. It can also help with contact tracing while the worker is on site during the day. In the event when an employee falls ill, the contact tracing solution kicks in, and through a dashboard, management is able to notify co-workers who had previously interacted with the employee and isolate them without having to shut the entire floor. One additional point was that the watches were designed with gamification on board. Employees were able to see how many times they were interacting with one another and for how long. We've seen some really positive behavioral changes where employees reduced their interactions by half within days of implementation of the solution. Over here in Singapore, Samsung and IBM are piloting the use of 5G and augmented reality to help organizations seek remote assistance in locations where technical field experts were not able to get to in time. For example, in cities that are on lockdown, such as ECQ, where travel is not permitted. With the use of advanced mobile technology, technical experts can view and instruct less experienced co-workers remotely on fixing or repairing a problem as though they were sitting right next to them by using the camera on the tablets. In Thailand, the use of mobile technology and delivery robots helped to reduce contact between frontline workers and patients in isolation wards during the pandemic. Frontline workers would be able to deliver medicine or food to the patients remotely while staying safe. The use of Samsung's rugged tablets would allow doctors and nurses to communicate with the patient remotely and provide any telehealth consultation when needed. This also helped the hospitals reduce the use of personal protective equipment, or what is known as PPE, conserving them only during emergencies. Moving on to the next area of education. Samsung is providing mobile technology through the use of smart devices to enable distance learning. During the start of the pandemic, schools and government bodies were not prepared when the schools were ordered to close, and many students were left without access to proper infrastructure or means to obtain the right tools needed for their studies. Through the use of mobile technology and fast cellular network, students in remote areas were able to connect with their teachers and learn beyond the confines of the classroom walls. New ways of learning were also introduced to effectively deliver content using mobile technology, such as AR and VR. These are just some of the cases of companies and governments that met their crisis head-on and turned them into opportunities and impactful outcomes. I want to close by asking a question. What would the world be like if COVID-19 happened 15 to 20 years earlier, when the world had little to no internet connectivity, no Facebook, no Viber, and no GrabFood to deliver your favorite ensaymada dipped in hot cocoa? This is truly an exciting time that we live in today, and how mobile technology is helping organizations around the world to accelerate their digital transformation at a pace that was never seen before. At Samsung, we believe in open collaboration and the power of relentless innovation to drive business outcomes. We appreciate the trust our customers and partners place in us, and we continue to listen very carefully to their voices. Moreover, we are committed to using what we've learned to create the innovative products and solutions you need. I want to finish by calling on everyone to stay strong and stay focused. And today, we will certainly see our way through the danger towards the opportunity ahead. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the future.
Thanks, Ian. As the wide distribution of devices and cloud access become the norm, network and security teams are suddenly faced with a massive attack surface across users and geographies. To talk about some of the trends and best practices on securing the edge, I'd like to introduce Oscar Visaya, Country Manager of Palo Alto Networks, Philippines.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the session on securing the network and securing the edge with Prisma Access. So my name is Oscar Visaya, and I'm the Country Manager of Palo Alto Networks here in the Philippines. So let's get started now. This picture gives you a view of what most networks look like today as a result of digital transformation. The data center, as you can see, is no longer the center of the universe now. And data and applications are actually moving to the public cloud. And users are also everywhere, using managed and unmanaged devices to do their job. Organizations need to have protections everywhere. However, over time, organizations have deployed multiple siloed technologies, one product for each pain point, resulting into a very complex architecture that opened up security gaps and led to a poor user experience. So in 2019, Gartner published a research that described how all of these technologies would begin to converge into what is known now as a Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE. So what is SASE? It is the convergence of networking and security services delivered from the cloud. So users in remote locations connect to these services and provide all of the network management and network security at the local point of presence. So Prisma Access with Palo Alto Networks take this step further by consolidating these networking and security capabilities into a single cloud-delivered platform instead of multiple platforms to reduce further the complexity of operating it. So in this slide, it shows you how to implement the recommendation of Gartner using Prisma Access now. So the left side of it is actually the old way of doing it with so many different products now that gives you a lot of complexity. And on the right side of it is how customers migrate to Prisma Access, which is more simplified and provides you with a better user experience. Now, the good thing about Prisma Access is that it's managed by a single pane of glass now. To further is operational complexities being experienced by a lot of customers today. Now, when it comes to the benefits, it really gives you a full-featured next-generation firewall, which is delivered from the cloud now. It not only encrypts your connections, but it also inspects all ports and protocols and data once you are connected to Prisma Access. It gives you better cost quality of experience because it eliminates the backhauling of traffic to the headquarters. And because it's OpEx-based, together with our partner PLDT, you have predictable commercial implications and further lower your TCO. So if you want to expand it in a very short time, you can also do it because you don't need to deploy any hardware in your on-premise. So these three use cases, as you can see in this deck, actually have been deployed recently in the Philippines now during the pandemic. One by a big manufacturing company, which is a case study later on, and a leading BPO company, as well as a leading construction company. Now, what is our service, Prisma Access with PLDT? What is the compelling value proposition? So if you look at it, networking is end-to-end, has to be end-to-end, right? Up to the point of access, to the point where the applications and the data resides. So what PLDT partnership gives you is actually an end-to-end SLA, from the first mile, which is provided by them, to the middle mile and the last mile, which is going to be protected by Prisma Access and Palo Alto Networks. Now, this slide gives you a comparison of the different options that customers have. Some of them have been deployed, like the traditional VPN, and others are also looking at ZTNA or Zero Trust Network Access, but they have shortcomings. And it's shown here what are the capabilities of Prisma Access that are missing in VPNs, traditional VPNs, and Zero Trust Network Access. Okay, so moving on to a case study where the customer has actually embraced Prisma Access, and this is again very recent in the Philippines during the pandemic. The customer is a global manufacturing company with close to 5,000 mobile users in multiple remote locations and sites across the nation. So the first phase, actually, they deployed it in 2 months, activating around 1,000 users. And over time, until 3 months ago, they have deployed most of their mobile users already. And they are already integrating this their SD-WAN, the current SD-WAN. So it's a very good use case that we're hoping to share with everyone else once we're given the permission. Okay, so now Prisma Access locations is actually global, with 100 service access points, including the Philippines, in 76 countries. So we're using the scale of AWS and Google Cloud to provide the highest level of availability, and again, with the SLA required by businesses today, with the partnership with PLDT. So in summary, we truly believe that Prisma Access is the best SaaS solution for you. Our goal is to provide you with the flexibility to achieve better business outcomes, where you can deliver secure, high-performance experience to your users, while reducing cost and complexity with unparalleled speed and agility provided by the scale of the public cloud. Thank you.
Thank you, Oka. The magnitude of this crisis has prompted businesses to make reactive decisions, and as a result, many are revisiting their BCPs in the context of the pandemic. Conserving cash has become a priority for most organizations. IT projects are being closely scrutinized or reprioritized, and those without a tangible ROI in the medium term are either being deferred or canceled. However, at the same time, there is a sharper focus on cloud, automation, AI and machine learning, robotics, IoT, and of course, cybersecurity. As a result, digital transformation is gaining momentum. We will also see a higher percentage of the workforce transitioning to working from anywhere permanently. In fact, we are seeing some of our own customers make the decision to permanently assign as much as 50% of their employees to a work from home arrangement. Overall, there is a realization that technology can be leveraged to ensure business continuity even in extreme circumstances. Therefore, enterprise IT architectures will now have to be reimagined considering the new future of work. As a leader of your company, you find your users are now distributed over offices, temporary workplaces, and remote locations like their own homes. These employees access corporate applications on any device through any network, private or public, and the applications themselves are either hosted or cloud delivered. Considering this new borderless environment, how do you now ensure the consistency of experience, compliance, and security? This is where the concept of the so-called Resilient Distributed Enterprise or RDE comes in. In an RDE, the traditional building blocks of IT infrastructure such as user access, connectivity, perimeter security, application hosting, all of these become irrelevant. We are now urged to think about supporting these capabilities regardless of location, device, and platform. At PLDT Enterprise, we believe there are three key components needed to become successful RDEs: consistent infrastructure, consistent trust, and consistent interactions. Consistent infrastructure begins with your network. And today, if you're talking about network, the positive impact of SD-WAN is just undeniable. More bandwidth, higher reliability, more control, and faster deployment are at the top of the list when our customers talk about the benefits of SD-WAN. In Gartner's latest report, they predict that by 2024, 60% of enterprises worldwide will have implemented SD-WAN. For the resilient distributed enterprise, virtualization of the control plane brings a level of consistency across your entire network that ensures optimized access to your applications wherever they may reside. In addition, our massive data center and cloud network also gives you a common and secure environment to host and protect your applications. Now, when we talk about consistent trust, it is underpinned by zero trust security, which is at the core of the resilient distributed enterprise. Given the open nature of the new normal IT architecture, a zero trust approach becomes imperative. For users, this might include SSO, single sign-on, MFA, multi-factor authentication, and role-based access control, in addition to DNS-based level of protection. For devices, capabilities like endpoint validation, posture checking, endpoint detection and response, anti-malware, and secure remote VPN are crucial. And for applications, important zero trust elements include workload, application protection, and behavioral analytics. Some or all of these are part of SASE, or Secure Access Service Edge architecture, layered on top of your foundational SD-WAN deployment. Gartner predicts that by 2024, 60% of those who have deployed SD-WAN will have implemented a form of SASE architecture. And finally, let's briefly touch on consistent interactions. Apart from the evident need for robust collaboration apps, RDEs must consider things like device management and experience management. For devices, it is critical to check the posture of the device before authorizing access to any of your corporate assets. Tiered access policies can also be implemented, and in some cases, geofencing policies might be suitable. RDEs might consider an enterprise MDM to exercise such degree of control across devices. Now, experience management can come in the form of an application performance management platform, which already may be inherent in your SD-WAN, SASE, and even your cloud instances, combining capabilities like app-aware traffic shaping policies, deep packet inspection, and on-ramp access gives RDEs a consistent level of interaction across its digital assets. So in summary, as we prepare for the new requirements of tomorrow, we must start thinking of our IT infrastructure from the outside in instead of the traditional way of building apps, data centers, networks, and offices. The concept of a resilient distributed enterprise allows us to envision capabilities that will be required for the future of work, one that encompasses distributed workers, distributed applications and services, served by an underlying inherently secure infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers for diving into how we can empower both our in-office and remote workforce to be more agile and digital. Truly, the workplace will never be the same as we step into a new era of accessibility.
Key in your questions, comments, and suggestions via the chat.
Now that you have discovered and learned about the latest innovations and solutions designed to reinvent your businesses, it's now time for us to entertain your questions. And at this point, let me introduce you to our esteemed panelists, beginning with Gary Ignacio.
Did you pin it?
Vice President of the Enterprise Core Business Solutions at PLDT Enterprise. We have Paul Pedersen, Collaboration Lead for ASEAN at Cisco. Steve Viles, Director of Strategy and Operations at Cisco Collaboration Sales, APJC. David Lichu, CEO of Lichu Property Consultants.
But we don't have any audio from them, yeah?
Ian Chong, Regional Director and Head of Enterprise, IT and Mobile for Samsung Electronics. And we have Oscar Visaya, Country Manager of Palo Alto Networks. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Now to all our delegates, do engage with us by typing in your questions in the chat box. So now we are going to read the questions directed by, it will be for Ian. We have received a question from Michael for Ian. The question is, what are some challenges that organizations face when transforming their workplace to a remote workplace? Ian?
What are some challenges that
Or should I repeat
thank
the
you.
question again? Okay, this question is from Michael and it is addressed for Ian. Question is, what are some challenges that organizations face when transforming their workplace to a remote workplace?
Sure. So let me begin. Probably in three parts, right? Firstly, I think it's security, because if you look at traditional applications, they're all hardwired to work on-premise. And I think we've seen that where during the ECQ, people start to lug their entire PC back home. But if you look at mobile was built for remote work right from the beginning, and it's completely secured right from the beginning wherever you go. Number two is about mobility. So if you look at mobility, I'm talking about how you can actually transition from your workplace to somewhere else. And we've been working with people like Cisco, and where doctors and nurses, when they do their rounding, they can work off their devices like tablets and phones, and then they can go back to their Desk Pro on Cisco and be able to connect completely seamlessly as well. And of course, with connectivity, we have 5G and Wi-Fi 6 working well together on a single device. And I think the last point is about people. I think people with the right mindset can change this, and people are the ones that solve problems as well. So these, I think, are some of the challenges that we face when we want to transform. And back to you.
All right, thank you, Ian. And now this second question is from Mika for Gary. What steps have been undertaken by PLDT Smart to support the borderless workplace?
Thank you, Marga. Well, PLDT and Smart have further expanded the reach and capacity of both our fixed and wireless networks across the country to make sure that we cater to the accelerated customer demand amid the new realities brought about by the pandemic, and also to enable the emerging borderless and hybrid workplace phenomena. As of August, as a matter of fact, PLDT's fiber infrastructure now spans more than 380,000 kilometers. That's up 20% versus end of last year, and boosting coverage to more than 8 million homes to whom we can deliver reliable, high-speed fiber. We likewise increased the availability of our fiber capacity by almost 4 million ports. On the wireless side, Smart has further ramped up its LTE rollout. We've increased the number of our LTE base stations to more than 28,000 nationwide, and these include deployment in far-flung areas. And of course, there's 5G that's just going to continue to grow in the months to come.
All right, thank you, Gary. This question is from Christina Aguida for Paul. How important is video in the next normal or future of work? Today, many are not comfortable turning on video during meetings, relying only on voice.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and thank you so much for hosting a fantastic event. And I mean, the simple answer is basically take away video from this event, and how fun would that be? So I think it provides a lot of value, and obviously in collaboration and communication. And if you think about the new normal that we have been talking about today, where we will assume that we have people coming in from anywhere, from home, from different offices and so on. And the point being that most people will be away some time from the headquarters. And I think video becomes a critical tool to actually create that sense of belonging, be able to actually build culture, and make sure that you create a team spirit within the organization, which we know is important. If I look at us, for example, now we have multiple team members that joined Cisco during the pandemic, and we never met them. They've never been at the Cisco office, and so on. So how do we actually get them into the environment and sort of perform and feeling that they belong to the company? So it becomes critical. And obviously in communication, it's not just verbal. A lot of the communication is the body language, how you look and what's happening, and if you're quiet, how do you interpret that, for example. So I think our job is basically to try to build a way and make it simple and comfortable for all the users depending on where you are. And that's why you see functionality as virtual backgrounds to help for example, shield your privacy in your home. You heard me demonstrate sort of the noise reduction. So if somebody runs around with barking dogs or anything in the background, we will sort of shy that away to make sure that you get a better experience. And everybody gets basically a front seat at the table, regardless of where you communicate. So simple answer, video becomes critical in this new hybrid world. So,
all right, thank you, Paul. Now this question is from Chard for David. How has real estate transitioned, or is there a different innovation in how business is being done now? Will office and mall spaces be obsolete given the rise in e-commerce?
So the office sector has proven to be the safest investment you could make in the real estate sector in the world. And many tenants are still current on their rent. And many of my clients are thinking, how do we adapt to the new normal and post-COVID? And I think the consensus is that they will take 20% off the workforce in the office and move them to the home. And so they're going to rotate their employees into this 80-20 ratio. So 80 in the office and 20 at home. And the second thing that they're going to do is
So I think we're going to go back and talk to David again in just a while. Now let's move on to let's move on first to Steve. Now, Steve, this question is from Oliver. There are numerous collaboration platforms out there like Microsoft, WebEx, Zoom, Google, and Slack. What are the factors or considerations in choosing a platform?
Thank you. And once again, thanks for having us here today. I think number one thing to think about is that working from home and collaboration is more than just meetings. So don't consider just a meeting platform. Consider all the workloads that you have to do in work. I mean, so that could be calling, video meetings, conferencing, whiteboarding, all of those workloads, and how do you actually going to get those to come together? Also, you already use many different apps in your organization. How are they going to integrate? You don't want to have many different vendors trying to bring all those things together. Ian mentioned the importance of security earlier. Having a secure platform for people moving to home and working from home, how do you make sure that the data is secure when they're talking to people internally and externally as well? So that's really important. And David just mentioned there about the 80-20. He was talking about 80% in the office or 20 at home. And Paul also mentioned there's always going to be this hybrid nature of work now. So don't make a decision based on this moment in time. This moment in time when everyone's sitting at home on a laptop, that will not last forever. Well, we all hope it doesn't. It doesn't last forever.
Yes.
Soon people are going to be going back to the office, and you need to ensure that the technology you use at home seamlessly transforms into the office space, and you can do it seamlessly together. So consider all of those things. So really, more than meetings, how secure everything is and how you can ensure the safety and security of your employees, and how it will work as you have people moving in and out of the office environments.
All right. Okay, I hope this is not going to be like a permanent thing, you know. But this last question is from Jappy for Oscar. What makes Prisma Access compelling, empowering the next workplace transformation?
Thank you for that question. So my first is that it offloads organizations from having to worry about building a security and networking infrastructure to support work from home and mobile employees as a result of this pandemic. So it delivers security and networking as a service. Security that stays ahead of threats rather than reacts to them, and networking services that delivers performance to all applications. And the way it's done is that we put together best of breed technologies that simplifies operations for customers, and they don't have to worry about building and stitching many different products to be able to support work from home employees.
Okay, now we have lots more coming in. We have other questions for this. Next question is for Ian. Ian, what are the Samsung or what are the plans of Samsung in servicing products like tablets, phones during pandemics, especially here in the Philippines?
Right. Thank you for that. I think if you look at Philippines as a whole, we have multiple service centers situated in the entire Philippines islands, and there's many different locations where you can actually access that. We also provide services where you can actually get a concierge service to be able to pick up devices at a specific location as well. So this actually helps, especially during the pandemic, where devices are either damaged or broken or require certain repair. So we have nationwide services around the different cities to be able to address that.
All right. We want to welcome back David. He's with us now. Actually, can I just repeat the question that was addressed to you earlier? The question was, how has real estate transitioned, or is there a different innovation in how business is being done now? Is office, or will office and mall spaces be obsolete given the rise in e-commerce?
Yeah, so in summary, yeah, the office market will continue to stay. People have continued to pay their rent globally. 80-20 rule of office and home, and hub and spoke models for corporate offices. And this is primarily to manage risk. And I think, at least for the Philippines, the per capita income of the Philippines are going to keep growing in the next 15, 20 years. And that will just translate to more businesses and more requirements. The mall space is hit very, very hard right now. But remember that there are only 5 landlords, mall owners, that own 80% of all mall space in the Philippines. Only 5 companies, only 5 families. And that's over a span of 15 million square meters. That's a lot of mall space, one of the largest in the world. And they have adapted very, very quickly. So some are moving and converting some mall space into office. And some are giving a lot of rope for their tenants to adapt to this new normal and to the fall in demand. I think as the per capita income of Philippines continue to rise, so will the need for mall space. And we're coming from a very, very, very low base in terms of per capita income compared to what it is in Malaysia or other parts of Asia.
All right. As I mentioned, there are still lots of questions coming in. There's another one again for Paul Pedersen. And the question is, do we have a 3D video conferencing technology being developed?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Question is, do we have a 3D video conferencing technology being developed?
Nothing I can talk about open. Obviously, we're exploring to drive innovation in the video conferencing industry in a broad sense. And if you think about the 3D concept of video conferencing, it is always already available. And if you look at the codecs and the products that we have, you can then send 3D images and so on. So we're looking into everything of the new display technologies, including VR and all the different capabilities. So you will see a lot of innovation of that coming, as well as when display technologies evolve as well. So it is an exciting space, so keep looking out for it.
All right, thanks for that. Now to close, this will be your last question, and it's going to be for Gary. Can you share your key takeaways to our viewers with us today?
Okay. Thanks again, Marga. I think the takeaways are pretty clear out of the session. I'd like to repeat what I said at the start, that the situation is not really going to change, and it's just going to be here, stay for good. And as mentioned, as good businessmen and entrepreneurs, we just have to embrace it, grab the new realities, buy the horn, and really navigate your business smartly to adapt to the changes that were imposed upon us. The good thing is that the global technology leaders like Cisco, Palo Alto, Samsung are all on it. They're pouring heavy R&D money to make sure that we have the right technology as we go through this journey. so that it can help us adjust to all of these changes that are happening. In the end, I think this is going to be a thrilling journey and an open-ended one, as Steve rightly put, with a lot of new variables coming by the day. I think in the end, it's most important to have a partner by your side, a trusted advisor, so to speak, who can work with you to make sure that everything integrates perfectly to your own unique situation. Remember, this is going to be a very exciting journey and one that's going to reshape the future of the workplace. So we just have to be at it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now, if there are no more questions at this point, we would like to again thank our presenters and panelists for spending this memorable afternoon with us. Special thanks to our official event partners. And to all our delegates, thank you all for tuning in. Again, you can get a chance to win exciting raffle prizes just by answering our feedback form that will be flashed on your screens after the program. Stay tuned for the next breakout session to find out how you can win a Samsung Note 20 or a Samsung Note 20 Ultra. We have a lot of premium items up for grabs this afternoon. Once again, I am Marga Arenas Vargas, and this has been Faces of Impact featuring Dare to Transform, powering the next workplace transformation breakout session of the Philippine Digital Convention 2020. Of course, brought to you by PLDT Enterprise, Smart ePLDT, and co-presented by Cisco, Samsung, and Palo Alto Networks.